Alright, y'all. It's been a full day here. Had Louisville decide to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory at home against Florida State. We had a 45-1 winner, discreet lover in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. And I just got through watching a very riveting game between Ohio State and Penn State. Ohio State came away with that victory. A lot of back and forth, great game, great competition. So I'm going to get into these DraftKings picks here because it's been a long day. We got to get ready for tomorrow, Sunday football. So without further ado, quarterbacks. Matt Ryan at home against Cincinnati. He's only $6,100. I think he's going to end up getting into a shootout as he did, similar to New Orleans, not quite as much. But I think we're going to expect a lot of points in this game. And for $6,100, I think Matt Ryan's a good value. Next, I got Phillip Rivers at home against San Francisco. They got, what's his name? Bethard or something like that playing quarterback. I don't even remember the guy's name. Garoppolo's out for the season. They're not going to trade for anybody. So Phillip Rivers is at home playing the 49ers, who've been struggling already. And now they're liable to turn the ball over more, have some hiccups on offense, and give Phillip Rivers more opportunities to score. So I like Phillip Rivers. 6,500 is not that cheap, but I think he's liable to have a big game. Now, Andy Dalton playing in Atlanta versus Matt Ryan. If you want to save some money for $5,400, you can get Andy Dalton in Atlanta on the turf. I think he's going to outperform that $5,400, so he could be a good value there. And also, I've got Baker Mayfield at $5,300 going into Oakland, facing the Raiders. Raiders have been struggling on defense. Baker Mayfield is hot. He came in, got his first win in relief of Tyrod Taylor last week. He's going to be looking for another win now. They've got Landry, they've got Hyde, got a decent offense there in Cleveland. So Baker Mayfield may be worth a play at $5,300. As far as running backs, Isaiah Crowell. Now, they're playing Jacksonville. Jacksonville's got a stout defense. Everyone knows this, especially against the run. But for $3,700, I think he may be worth considering if you want to throw somebody in there. They got to run the ball with somebody. They've got Bilal Powell as well. But I think Crowell may match up a little bit better against Jacksonville. And so he might be worth a play at $3,700. We've got Austin Eckler. For $4,200. He is the backup for Melvin Gordon in San Diego. He's been getting some carries. They're probably going to blow out the 49ers. So Eckler is liable to get a few carries, put up some points there for $4,200. He's worth considering. Also, Philip Lindsay for the Denver Broncos. For $4,500, he's going to be a decent play. They're playing the Chiefs. The Chiefs have been soft on defense this year, soft against the run. Lindsay a little bit undervalued because last week he didn't complete the game. He was ejected from that game. So I think he's a little bit undervalued at $4,500 with the Broncos being at home against Kansas City. So Philip Lindsay for $4,500 I think could be a bargain. Now, a wide receiver, I've got a lot of guys here. A lot of guys. Actually, I'm going to go to the tight ends first and then get to the wide receivers because there's so many of them. The tight end, Austin Hooper. Austin Hooper's up and down. You never know when he's going to have a good game. But Cincinnati's been a little soft against tight ends. And for $2,900, I think Hooper might be worth the play if you need to fill up a spot on your roster there. Now, Tyler Eifert, same thing. Cincinnati at Atlanta, same situation. Probably going to be a high-scoring game. So Eifert's liable to get some looks there with Cincinnati going into Atlanta, playing on the turf, and he's probably going to give you a decent value. Now, we also have Pittsburgh's tight ends. We have Jesse James at $3,400, and I've got Vance McDonald at $2,900. Because the Baltimore Ravens have a stout defense, especially against the pass, we'll be looking for Pittsburgh to be exercising the third and fourth options in the passing game, and that is going to be James and McDonald. So I think either one of them would be a decent play because neither one is very expensive, and they're liable to get at least a few catches and yards, if not get in the end zone. Now, back to the wide receivers. A.J. Green, first of all, $7,500 is not cheap. However, I think that's a little bit of a bargain for a guy going into Atlanta like that. It's probably going to be a shootout. He's the #1 target by far on that team, and so A.J. Green is probably going to have a big game in Atlanta. For $7,500, I think he's well worth that money. On the flip side, Calvin Ridley with Atlanta. Despite the big game that he had last week, he's still $4,900. This guy's fast. He went to Alabama. He knows what he's doing. And if we're looking for another shootout here, Calvin Ridley's liable to have another big game here against the Bengals at home. So $4,900. Calvin Ridley's probably a pretty good play. Next, we got Kenny Golladay. They're going into Dallas. Another tough defense against the pass. Golladay is currently listed as the 3rd receiver in the depth chart. Is $6,500. That's a little bit overpriced for a 3rd receiver, but I think he will still get some work in this game. So for $6,500, he may be worth that. Also, Marvin Jones Jr. at $5,200. He's technically the #2, but as far as targets, he's really the 3rd option for Detroit. But I think that they're going to have Golden Tate under wraps in Dallas. Also, Golden Tate is questionable. If Golden Tate doesn't start, both of these guys may outperform their numbers. On the flip side of that one, Dallas has Tavon Austin for $3,600. I called him a week ago. Didn't do too much. I still think he shows some promise in this game. It's liable to be a shootout. And Detroit's been okay against the pass, so it means they may need to go to the 3rd option. Tavon Austin is very fast. He's very capable for $3,600. I think you might want to consider him as well. Now, the Dolphins go into New England. For $5,800, you can get Kenny Stills. Now, New England's been soft against the pass this year and last year. Kenny Stills got blazing speed. Everybody knows this. He came from New Orleans. Another one of those guys like Brandon Cooks, Willie Snead, Michael Thomas. New Orleans knows how to pick them. These guys get out there and they perform wherever else they go. So if this game gets to be a high-scoring game, and I think that Tannehill's going to be looking for Stills. So for $5,800, I think he might outperform that $5,800. Another one, Geronimo Allison. Randall Cobb is questionable right now. Despite that fact, they're playing Buffalo at home. I think they may be going to Geronimo Allison. Buffalo can do a little bit against the pass. So Geronimo Allison for $4,700 is probably going to be a pretty good value. You probably won't be that cheap going forward after this week. We have Baltimore with Willie Snead at $3,900 playing against Pittsburgh. That game's liable to turn into a shootout. All the Baltimore receivers are decently priced, but for $3,900, I think Willie Snead, given his speed, is worth a play. And they've got John Brown, they've got Crabtree. They're around $5,500 or so. I don't know if I spend that much for those guys, because if it does turn into a shootout, then Flacco's probably going to spread it around. But Flacco likes to go deep, and we all know that Willie Snead can get deep. And that's why I think Willie Snead might be worth considering against Pittsburgh for $3,900. Now, Mohamed Sanu, $3,600. He's really underpriced for a #2 receiver in Atlanta. They're at home against the Bengals. Probably going to be a shootout, like I said before. So for $3,600, Mohamed Sanu is probably worth playing to throw as a guy in there if you need a cheap guy to fill out your roster. Now, this next guy I have is a gamble. Cordero Patterson. $3,200. I mean, if you really only got a few bucks left over to fill out for that flex position, he might be worth playing. They're playing Miami. New England is going to need to spread the ball around and get it to some guys that Miami is not game planned for, and Cordero Patterson is that guy. He's a playmaker. He was a playmaker with the Vikings. He was a playmaker with the Raiders. So he is liable to get out there and make a couple of plays. I mean, you don't want to bank a lot on this guy, but for $3,200, I think he's probably going to overproduce. Or at least he's got the opportunity. You never really know with New England. They could throw the ball to anybody. Now, I left out one tight end here, and that is Ebron. for Indianapolis. Jack Doyle is out. Ebron is $3,600. They're playing the Texans soft against the tight end defense. So I expect Ebron to get a lot of balls in this game. Andrew Luck likes to throw the ball to the tight end. As we know, they like to do a lot of two tight ends. But with Jack Doyle out, I think Ebron is going to get a lot of looks for this game against the Texans. I expect them to win this game, so he's probably going to get in zone, I think, at least once. He's probably going to get a few balls, maybe a couple of touchdowns. So I'm going to leave it right there. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and tune in next time.